the lead magnet needs to be really solid and of value. So if it's some sort of tool, or it might be an assessment of the site assessment, it depends on the nature of what you're doing, but there's lots of tools that you can do that give them true value. The value has got to be bigger than the perceived cost of the privacy. So that's the thing you've got to really consider in lead magnets. They've got to be at a higher level than they used to be. You could throw together an ebook back in the day and people would download it. Yeah, but these days they're getting those answers on AI. They'll just jump on ChatGPT.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back to Hard Hat CEO. This is Chris G here, and yes, today we're going to be talking about some branding, and I got a lot of help all the way from down under, and that is Wes Towers. Wes, welcome today.
Thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I've been listening to a lot of your material, and it's a real privilege to speak to you in person.
Well, if you haven't figured it out, Wes is from Australia already, and he got an awesome accent. But Wes, tell us a little bit more about yourself, if you would.
Sure. Well, from a business standpoint, I run a digital agency, Uplift 360. So we do websites and optimization and all that kind of fun stuff for the trades and construction industry purely. We're a really niched agency, so we really understand our clients at a higher level because we're focused on them globally as well. So most of our clients are here in Australia, but we've got a few offshore as well. So it's fantastic to connect with a global audience.
We talked about branding earlier, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things today, but how many people do you come across that don't have a website still?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's not many unless they're brand new starting out. If it's more of a subcontractor who's just working alone, then he or she may not have a website just yet, but even then they typically will if they've been around any length of time. And I think sometimes if there's an abundance of work, or you get all your work through the one contractor and you as a sub, then you probably you feel like you don't need one. But things can change in the marketplace fast. So I think it's better to prepare now, even when you don't need it, ahead of time, and build something out, even if it's simple, to get yourself started and get yourself visible online, so you're ready for change in the marketplace.
Well, you don't want to put all your apples or eggs, I guess, in one basket for sure. So even subs can use a website, just kind of highlight what they do and be aware to other contractors.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing that all the time. We've got not so many of that smaller size, but there's occasionally someone who'll come along and get support in that. And there's others who can do it. There's tools that can do a really basic website themselves. And so I encourage anyone, if that's where they're at, to start out and just try and launch something. The longer a website's around, the aged domain, the aged website, the more Google will trust it. And it's all about building trust and authority and recognition in the marketplace. So positioning yourself, because there's so much noise online, we're all becoming overwhelmed with messaging and so on. Yeah, we've got to build trust.
Absolutely. How do you stand out then? How do you stand out with all that noise online?
Yeah,
you still got to build trust. Are you trusting through social media?
Yeah. You need real clarity in your messaging, and you need to understand precisely who your ideal clients are so you can speak exactly to them. Because if you're too general, it's just too generic and bland, and there's nothing that's really going to resonate and connect with your audience. But if you really know precisely who your ideal client is, now you might have a broad range of clients, but customers, but there's going to be an ideal. So if you speak to that ideal, you'll get the others by accident anyway. So I always say, get clarity around who you really want to serve, what your best work looks like, and go after it. Once you've got that clarity, it just helps in so many business decisions, but it certainly helps in marketing, because we're so rushed online. We don't watch or listen to or read lengthy commentary on websites. We just want to grasp really quickly what it is and if it's a fit for us.
Do you all put videos on websites now as much, or you kind of use YouTube? What do you recommend in that case?
Video is always powerful online because
Hmm.
you can just cover so much information in a short space of time, and that's what it's all about. And people will tend to watch a video for a length of time where they might not read too much. We're all lazy, not necessarily lazy, but we're all rushed for time.
Time is
And
really the
so,
bigger issue. Yeah.
yeah, so if you can communicate something, and if it's visually something you want to showcase, it's so powerful to be able to show, if you're in construction, to show the amazing work that you're doing, and even the process in which you're building it out, or the finished product. We've got a client actually booked in right now who's an interior designer, so in the trades construction space, but she's getting some great video of her work, so we'll walk
Mhm.
through. It's just so powerful when you can display and showcase the work you do. If it's a beautiful service offering you're providing, it's awesome. Even if you're digging trenches and it's mud, it's still sometimes helpful so people can see and understand what you do and the benefits of what you do, and you're speaking through it to explain your values and why you do a thing a certain way, and just to connect on a human level, because we all want human connections in this crazy digital age. We want that human connection where we're going to speak to someone, and a video can help do that when you've got someone speaking through their thoughts and ideas.
We're going to talk about AI here in a little bit, but before that happens, so we talked about if you don't have a website, but if you do have a website, what do you find that people make mistakes on their websites?
Yeah, well, websites really quickly become outdated and stale. Businesses change over the course of time, but also the technology changes, and some of that's outside of our control because different tools, different devices. I mean, it's a long time ago now, but when the mobile phone came out, all of a sudden the cell phone, we've got a different screen size to play with, and so that was
Hmm.
a big disruption. That was a long time ago, but these little changes are happening all the time. The way in which we interact with a website, the expectations. I always say to keep a website navigation and as simple as possible. Put everything where people expect it to be. So your logo on the left, your menu along the top, a call to action button on the right, that's your header section. Then you'll have a hero section, just a really strong, compelling message, maybe a call to action button there too. People need to grasp exactly what it is, and then your content flows from there with any social proof, so testimonials, case studies, stories, examples, that kind of stuff to validate you are who you say you are. So sometimes it's a matter of your website just becomes a little bit dated. So it's about assessing it against the modern day standards and thinking where are the gaps and what needs to be tidied up to bring it into alignment with where you are right now.
You did say, and if anybody's listening, you do have a website. It is important not only look at it on the computer, but look on your phone because it's a completely different view. And if you don't have it set right, it's not going to look right on one or the other. So
Yeah, all
there's
of
a,
these things need to be
I know
considered.
I don't do it
Yeah.
myself, but enter like a quick little button you can see, look at phone view versus a laptop view or computer view.
Yeah, well, we've got tools that do that, and every
Yeah.
size in between. So all the tablets and so on. There's so many different sizes of screen. So you need to have it. It's called responsive, so it responds to the screen size in which it's being viewed. So it's the same site, it's just shuffling around slightly differently, and it's why it's important to have a reasonably clean and sophisticated looking design, because it will respond better at a broad range of sizes. Once you start to add too many graphics and too overwhelming visually, it might be
Yeah.
okay on the PC size, but imagine when you cram it down into a small phone, it creates either one of two things: too much scrolling to get
Hmm.
anywhere and read any information,
Oh, yeah.
or it creates a mess. Everything's too small. So these things need to be considered. Sometimes people are designing for mobile first. It's called mobile first design. And that's because in some industries, there'll be more people looking at the website through a phone than they are a PC. But typically, people historically have designed for the PC first.
Gotcha. But it would be easier to start small and go big than go big and go small, I would think. So,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it depends if you're a trade. We call them tradies here in Australia. We've got so many different phrases, but if you're a small trade, maybe it's an emergency plumber, for example, where you really
mhm.
want to be performing well on a mobile phone, because you can imagine there's a pipe has burst. they're going to pick up their phone. They're not opening up their laptop. They're going to look at their
No.
phone. They're going to call the first person who can get to the premises. So these sorts of
Absolutely.
things you need to consider, just the pragmatic, practical things, overwhelming designs and pretty designs. Now, we make them look nice, of course, but that's secondary to the message. The message needs to be really clear so people know they're going to get what they're looking for.
We can't go without talking about AI a little bit, and
Yeah.
how is AI affecting the websites today, and is it easier or harder? And I know it's probably hard to tell what's real and what's not.
Yeah. Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? The
Mhm.
authenticity is being eroded, and what we trust is being eroded, just simply because you can read something on a website somewhere and you don't even know if anyone's even proofread it, you know, or checked over it. It could have been just written by AI. So there's no substance or noteworthy credit behind it necessarily. Same as the videos. The videos are sort of really, it's exciting times because they're so realistic. I mean, we've all seen videos of celebrities that have long passed and they look
Oh
so
yeah.
realistic. So, but that's concerning as well, because we need to fight as businesses to prove that we are who we say we are, and we're trustworthy and reliable and honest. And anything third party will help to do that. So third party endorsements, reviews, testimonials, anything like that that you can't easily manufacture through AI. So Google reviews, for example, you really want to get as many of those as you can. There's other review platforms, and anything authentic will help stand out. I always like to think about AI as, and remind people it is artificial, and it's kind of like artificial food. We know it's not healthy for us.
Yeah.
It facilitates somewhat of a desire in us, but it's not good for the long term. So we need to get past that. And I always say to get people off your website and into a real human conversation, because that's where real quality sales are made. If you're selling anything that's more than an impulse buy, like if you're selling a $5 widget, well, yeah, sure, you can sell it without a human connection. But if you're selling a construction project, well, they're going to want to talk to a human and understand who you really are.
Well, being that said, I find myself using AI as a search engine just as much as I use Google, for example. And how do you get AI to pick you? So, I mean, you want to talk to them, but people might be using AI to find you. How do you get, I guess, AI to recognize your website over somebody else's?
Yeah, well, this is the danger of when people produce their content through AI. What that means is it's generic, because it's obvious, all it can do is pull in a bunch of ideas from other people and collate it into something perceived to be new. But it's not genuinely new, and therefore it's unlikely to ever show up in Google. It's unlikely to ever show up in ChatGPT or Perplexity or any of the other platforms, because it's not adding anything new to the conversation. There's no value there. But once you're adding your own value, something that's unique and specific to your own business, and this is why case studies are so good, because only you have built a certain building. And if it's a reputable building, like some of the commercial builders we work with, we're working with one in Sydney right now. The buildings that they've worked on are recognised all around Australia, some of them potentially even globally. So all we've got to do is have case studies of their projects, talking specifically about what they did on these projects and the buildings and so on. If anyone's going to Google and say, who built this building, their name and their brand is going to show up. So this is why it's really important to have unique content and case studies, stories, examples, things that only you can write about. They're the things that will probably surface in the large language models and Google itself as well.
So basically what you're saying is by creating unique content that somewhere else wouldn't be on, then AI can recognize as unique and try to help show you in front of others.
Yeah.
And I assume, even Google, even more the Google reviews, the Google stuff you do, that's unique to you. And if they're using Gemini, which is the Google AI, I'm assuming that Gemini is going to pick Google clients over a non-Google client first, I would assume, right?
Yeah, Google will always, and it makes sense, they will always prefer their own other resources. So, and they own YouTube as well. YouTube and Google are together now. So
Sure.
Publishing on YouTube is really cool too. And so it just all builds authority and trust in your brand. And that's why podcasts as well that also go out on YouTube and a broad range of platforms. It's all brand recognition. So your brand is being mentioned a whole bunch of places, the podcasting platforms themselves, but social media, etc., that it all gets shared upon. It's all building authority and trust. Back in the day, we used to need a backlink. So a backlink is basically a link from another website to yours, and it passed on authority to yours. It was almost like a vote of confidence. People started to try and manipulate that and create dodgy backlinks because they knew how the algorithm worked, how they measured the value of that. So Google changed the rules a little bit, but now they don't even need that link at all. Because they understand the full context of the content. So they understand what the content's about. They know your brand has been mentioned in a positive way, and they know what the story is about. And that's all passing authority to you as a business. So there's a broad range of ways people can promote their business online. And it's not only your website, although your website can help to fuel their understanding of your business to a greater level because it's the company site. It's got reliability and trust built into it from their eyes.
Well, on that note, how can a smaller business beat out a bigger business? I guess, especially for local, is there ways to go about that? And, our budget's not as big.
Yeah, a couple of ways of dealing with it. So if you're a local provider of a certain trade, let's say, there's probably only going to be a handful in your region that are doing it. So you've only got to be better than them. So it's not overwhelming if you're local, truly local. If you're in a bigger city that's got lots of competitors in your space, it becomes more challenging. So that's when sometimes it's worthwhile considering a niche. You can market to that niche and be the owner and authority in that area of expertise. For example, there's a guy that I was talking to, I think late last week. He does pool restorations and also inspections. But he decided that he would focus his marketing on the inspections aspect more than his restorations and repairs, because he realized that was an easier win for his business because there was less competition. And here in Australia, everyone needs to get their pool checked every year for the safety and so on. So it gets him his foot in the door, and then he can, from there, build a relationship and trust. And if there is something to be repaired, he's there, so he can quote for that project. It's so much of an easier marketing system and strategy than if he was to go straight for the jugular, go for the big job straight away. It would be really difficult.
Really tough for him.
Yeah. So smart approach, and I'm looking forward to see how that rolls out for him.
Construction companies lag in digital stuff, I guess because, your smaller companies maybe. How do you close that gap and get more information out there? Do you hire somebody? Do you just sit down and make part of your time, like on the calendar, I'm going to do this, I have to do this as for my branding?
Yeah, I think like anything, you should delegate to experts in the field where it's not naturally you won't do a great job of, you can't do a great job of everything, but you can do great in your area of expertise. And this is why leadership is so important in the construction industry. You as the leader don't actually pick up the tools all the time. In fact, if the company's of even a reasonable size, you're probably not picking up the tools at all. And so to think that you would do your own website would be crazy.
I heard that.
Yeah. So to find someone who can support you in that. Now, some of our bigger clients, they'll have a marketing department. So that's a different whole kettle of fish as well. So they'll be able to do a lot of the grunt work themselves and then alongside and fill in the blanks that they can't do, the technical aspect. But yeah, for the other ones who don't have a marketing department, so it's usually working with the founder to figure out exactly how they want to market. And as I said, it's not necessarily marketing to everything. It's about figuring out what's going to bring in the quality type of clients in the most efficient manner so that you can on-sell them to the bigger things as part of the process.
Now, some of my listeners are working for the subs and considering going out on their own. What would be the biggest first thing they do actually if they were going to start on your branding? What would you do?
I think it's important to try and get your domain name. So I've seen horror stories where people have gone and registered their trademark and all the company registrations, and it's different around the world, but typically you need to register your company name and etc. and so on. And there's been some horror stories where the domain name has already been registered by somebody else, and they're just sitting on it, ready for someone just like you to pop along and then sell it to you for an inflated price. So that's the first thing you want to do if you're brand new. Think about what your business name will be. You've got to check all the legals and that and make sure it's not treading on toes. But from a digital standpoint, make sure you can get the domain name and register it as soon as you can. Because, you know, imagine if someone just overheard you about to start a business sometime, and this is the business name, and some Muppet jumped in there and registered the name, and you just get it. It's so cheap as well. Domain names that cost near nothing. So
Namecheap.com is one of them. You know, it's what, maybe $10.
Yeah.
As cheap as I think sometimes even $5, depending on if you get some coupons and stuff. But
yeah,
you know,
sure. There's often sales going on. So just register domain names. And so the .com, there's other domains as well. Here in Australia, we have .com.au, and it's a little more tricky. You've got to be the genuine owner of the business name to be able to do that. So that's somewhat a safety mechanism for the .com.au, and other places have those similar scenarios. But for a .com, anyone can just grab it, and you really want to get that .com to make sure that other people don't, you know, steal it from you.
Now, what people would say, we're talking a lot about websites and so forth, but what about social media? I know it's a big player, and how's it interact with your website and vice versa? Do you drive traffic back and forth, and does it help with the SEO optimization of that?
Yeah, so for me, it confuses people initially when I say this, but my goal for social media for our clients and for my own goal is to get people off social media. And what I want them to do is to visit the website, because you control the website. So use social media almost like fishing. So you're out there, you're casting your net broad and far, but you got to remember it's a noisy space, and there's other people there, and there's distractions. So they might see what you've published and posted, but if there's not a way to engage with you for the long term in your own world, which is your website, then you'll just lose them to competitors. So get them off social into your world. I try to minimize the time. This is another thing that confuses people sometimes, that I try to minimize my own time spent in social media. I have my team do the posting for me. So it's something that can absorb a lot of your time. And as a leader, it's not where you want to spend your time, but you want to have people that you can trust to do it for you, that are publishing the right information, and focus on the higher end tasks that only you can do as the leader. But yeah, get them off social media into your website. And then the other thing that sometimes confuses people, the goal of the website is to get them off the website. So where we want them is into a conversation with our clients, because most of our clients aren't selling something super cheap. As I said, you know, if you're selling a $5 widget, fine, sell it online. But if you're selling a construction project, they're going to want to have a conversation with you. So get them off website into a conversation. So that call to action on your website to make the inquiry, be a phone call, be a form filled in. There's a number of ways of doing it. You can have a chat scenario. There's so many things you can do, but to get them off the website into a conversation with a real person, and that's where the relationship can be built in a solid way.
That's what leads to my next and almost our final part would be get them off the social media, get them to the website, which is not just a fancy brochure. It's a way to collect their name and information. That's a lead generation.
Yeah.
And that way you can talk to them and have that conversation, whether it be through the phone, through text, or email. Those are the big three. And, Facebook has Messenger. That's great, but it's not I don't find it as nice as others. And there's rules and regulations, all that, guys, and that's not what we're talking about here, but get that information. And what is your thoughts on lead magnets? And for those who don't know what a lead magnet is, you might explain that.
Yeah, so a lead magnet, they've been around a long time. So it's some form of free gift in exchange for contact details. So historically, they might have been an ebook or a video that you can only see if you fill in your details. So you get those leads into your database, and it might be to get you can email to them from that point on, or send them an SMS message. But they've become more and more difficult to get that lead flow through, because we know whilst it's free, it's not really free, because we're giving away.
You're giving up information.
Yeah, we're giving away our privacy, and we more and more so people are putting value on their privacy. So the lead magnet needs to be really solid and of value. So if it's some sort of tool, or it might be an assessment of the site assessment, it depends on the nature of what you're doing, but there's lots of tools that you can do that give them true value. The value has got to be bigger than the perceived cost of the privacy. So that's the thing you've got to really consider in lead magnets. They've got to be at a higher level than they used to be. You could throw together an ebook back in the day, and people would download it. Yeah, but these days they're getting those answers on AI. They'll just jump on ChatGPT and get those answers from what an ebook historically would have given them. So you've got to be smarter with that. Think about what's truly aligned for your business and what they're going to see real value in.
You mentioned niches earlier. Make sure if you're going to do a lead magnet, make sure it's niche specific. That way nobody ever can just get it, and make it interesting, like you said. But the idea is to get that name, start that conversation, like you said, and however that is for you, that's great. The best part is sometimes you can even dial from the websites now that you didn't have that opportunity a long time ago. Just dial that number and call me up.
Yeah, 100%. I think the phone call lead is always the most solid, because if someone's committed enough to make a phone call, they're more likely to be a genuine interest, and less likely just to be we call them a tire kicker. I don't know if that's a phrase that you use. Tire kickers. So we all have that. Doesn't matter what industry, there's always tire kickers out there.
On that final note, if you said, if they call, that means they're very interested, or enough to call, and that's important. So make sure you either have a system in place where that replies back to them if you're not able to answer the phone. Make sure you have somebody to answer the phone if that's the best case, and then make sure you follow up. That's very important, because if somebody's calling, that means they're willing to spend some money, or at least talk about it. So
well, that's the thing. And certainly some of the smaller trades and all the team members are on the tools, so they can't pick up the phone right away. That's a super big challenge, because if you don't get back to them quick enough, they've already called somebody else and they've already chosen to hire someone else. So you're just leaving money on the table. It's certainly worth thinking about having either someone answer it. There's answering services, so they feel as though at least someone's answered, and you'll get back to them in due course. So you're not going to lose them. But there's also AI answering services, and you have the discussion. So it's better than losing the call altogether. You really want to make sure you follow up as soon as you can. If you've been on the tools, you're in a roof, you can't answer the phone. You got to make sure you don't miss those opportunities.
That's where the hard hat, the CEO, comes in. You get somebody else doing that, and you take care of the things that you take care of. But that's how would somebody reach out to you if they wanted to get a hold of you?
Yeah, the website's uplift360.com.au. The AU for an Australian website. But as I said before, we're serving clients all around the world. So from there, people can book a strategy call with me if they wish to do so, and we can talk further about it.
That's one of the best parts about the internet. It just makes the world a little bit smaller. So as always, guys, if you like this, please hit like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. It is a wonderful day here in Missouri and over in Australia, but not quite as cold, I believe. So Wes, thank you very much. Guys,
privilege. Thanks, Chris. Yeah.
God be with you till we meet again, and we'll see you again next week. Hard Hat CEO. Bye-bye.